What picture do you hold of yourself? Would you believe me if I told you that the picture you hold of yourself could be the key to your future? And talking about your future, how is life treating you right now? Are you going through some stuff? Everybody's going through some stuff. It could be financial stuff. It could be family stuff, relationship stuff, work stuff, things that make you frown, things that are making you feel anxious, things that are keeping you up at night, things that are waking you up at ungodly times in the morning. Yep, everybody is going through stuff. And in between all of that, some of us are saying that we're going to build a YouTube channel. Some of us are going to build a business outside of YouTube. Some of us are going to do both. Keep in mind the question I asked you about the picture you hold of yourself, because this is going to be the key to you dealing with the stuff, and it's going to be the key to success or failure in your business. Welcome to Choices TV. My name is Anthony Charles, and on this channel, I make videos about the books and the tools and the strategies that help you to be more, do more, and have more by boosting your productivity, strengthening your mindset, and building those people skills. This is a series of videos called my Business Diaries, and I'm documenting my YouTube journey. Sometimes I talk to you about the stats and how the channel is going, what I'm learning about building YouTube, my experiences. And every now and then, like today, I'm going to talk to you about an experience I had outside of YouTube. So today's theme is talking about dealing with stuff while building your YouTube channel and building your business. And I want you to stay to the end because I want to share with you a mindset technique that I was using from since I was a teenager, and I didn't know I was using it. But I want you to share it with you now, because if you're not using it, it's really, really powerful and you need to start using it. I called a friend of mine this week and we were talking about our businesses. We had some business to discuss, and while we were talking, we hadn't spoken for some time, so we asked how things are going. And as usual, everybody is going through some stuff. And after coming off the call, I thought to myself, I'm going to talk about this because everybody's battling something. And if you're going through something right now, I'm not here to trivialize it or anything like that, but I just want to tell you, you're not alone, because it may feel that way. And you may look at people and you may think that person over there looks like their life is absolutely amazing. Let me just tell you something. Everybody on some level is going through stuff. I used to do this exercise years ago when I used to run a mentoring program for young people who are at risk. And I would do this challenge where I'd ask everybody in the room to write down a challenge that they were facing, something they didn't mind sharing with everybody else, but it would be anonymous. And I'd get them to write down on a piece of paper their biggest challenge that they didn't mind sharing anonymously. And they'd write it on a piece of paper, fold it up, and we put it in a little box. And we pass this little shoebox around. Everybody would put their challenge in. Then I'd pass the box back and I say, everybody take out a piece of paper. You take out a piece of paper. If it's your challenge, you put it back in, you take another one. And I would watch people's faces as they took out challenges that were not their challenges, problems that were not theirs. And as they unfold the paper and they read it, at the very least, their eyebrows would go up. Some of their mouths would be wide open. Some of them are covering their mouths, and some of them would mouth words to show their shock. And I'd ask a question. I'd say, would you like the challenge back that you put into the box, or would you like to keep that challenge? And you know, the funny thing is, 9 times out of 10, I've done this so many times, people want their own challenges back. There's something about the things that we're facing. And there's a saying that it says, God won't give you more than you can handle. And whenever I do that exercise, it kind of proves it to me. I want to share with you a personal story that happened to me a long time ago. I was 17 at the time, and it ended with me living on the streets for 10 months. And I just want to share what happened to me. I can't give you the full details because it's a long old story, but let's give you the short version. I left home when I was about 17 and I was working in a martial arts factory. I redirected my letters from my parents' house to the place that I was staying. I was staying in a road, or Pembury Road in Tottenham, with a lovely guy called John, who allowed me to pay him money on weekly money, and I would sleep on his sofa. I was really, really grateful for that. Kept me out of the rain and kept a roof over my head. Anyway, I've redirected my post, and for some reason, the post office has redirected everything. My mum, dad, and other family members' post. It's all arrived at mine. So I've taken it all up. I've gone down to my mum and dad's house, put it through the letterbox, put a note with it saying, really, really sorry. I didn't know this was going to happen, and I will go and sort it out at the post office. I thought my mum and dad were cool about it. They didn't say anything about it, but there was a member of my family who decided that they weren't happy about it, and they turned up at my workplace to give me a hard time. Not only did they give me a hard time, they threatened a load of my colleagues. That ended up in me losing my job. And that was the beginning of my challenges. Around the same time, I did a really stupid thing. Where I was living in Pembury Road, this guy, Johnny, had a party, and I was at the party. Some of my mates were at the party. The next day, the DJ had got really drunk, so he left all his equipment there and his music. One of my friends was looking through the record saying, wow, look, he's got this, look, he's got that. And he's helped himself to some of these guys' records. Now, I knew it was happening. I turned a blind eye to it. And that resulted in me getting kicked out of where I was living. Giving you the short version of everything. So I've got no job. Now I've got no house. I've gone to the DHSS, and that is the olden days version. I think it was called the Department of Health and Social Security back in the day. This is the old version of Universal Credit. And I go there, I'm getting unemployment benefit. I go there, sign on. 2 weeks later, I go to sign on again, and they say to me, no, we've spoken to your old employers. You've made yourself intentionally unemployed, so we're going to suspend your money for, it was a year. No money, no house, and no job. Immediate homeless. And devastation. Everything just comes crashing around with me, and it's incredible how fast things just fall down. I can't give you all of the blow-by-blow stuff that's happened to me, but I'll tell you one of the fastest things that happened to me was the body odor. Being able to smell walking down the street, smelling your own breath and smelling your armpits, and oh my God, as a human being, if you don't wash, you stink really quickly. Well, I did anyway. I struggled with this. I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. I was isolated, and I felt like a total failure. I didn't want to sleep on the streets because I didn't feel safe. So what I would do is I'd walk the streets all night. And back in the day, it takes about 3 hours to walk to the West End. So I'd walk all the way down to the West End, and I started hanging around Charing Cross in the Strand area. And I meet people down there, other people who are street people living on the streets, and you kind of just befriend each other. And we drink and we talk, and some of them were into drugs. I never got into drugs or anything like that, but I'd spend time there. And then when they were going to sleep at night, then I'd make my way all the way back down to Hackney, and I would sleep in the daytime. I'd go to Clissold Park in Stoke Newington. I'd sleep on the bench there, and if the weather wasn't that great, I'd go into Stoke Newington Library and I'd sleep there. So that's how I was for a long time. And every now and then I would get if I had £1, there used to be a club called the Four Aces Club in Dalston Lane. And I'd pay £1 and I'd go in there and I'd be able to sleep in there. But that was a bad deal because the guy who used to run it, one of the guys, if you caught you in there sleeping, you get beaten up. I'm a kid, and thrown out onto the street. Well, one night I was walking in Holborn, and I'm telling you something, I was feeling like a total failure, lower than a snake's belly. I'm walking, and you know what dawned on me? I didn't have any keys. And for me, keys were a significant thing. The first key I ever got was given to me by my dad, was the key to the house, and that gave me some responsibilities. I remember I had this little blue suitcase that I used to keep my little books and that in. I had a key to that. My bicycle, I had a key to the padlock that chained up my bicycle. So as you go through life, you pick up more keys. You might work in a place and they'll give you keys. That gives you responsibility. You might have a car that you've got keys for that gives you ownership. Well, I had no keys. So I had no ownership, no responsibility. I had nothing of value. And as I walked down the street, I just knew I was finished. But a realization dawned on me. And one of the things that dawned on me was that I realized the cavalry wasn't coming. I realized really quickly that when you get yourself into situations, sometimes people can help you out. A friend in need, it's a friend indeed, of course. People are there to help you out. But in life, I'm going to say, do not wait for the cavalry to come, because more than likely they're not coming. And luckily, here's the deal. I asked you about the picture that you see of yourself. I never saw myself as homeless. Now, this wasn't ego. This wasn't a pride thing. I just didn't see myself as homeless. So I didn't get involved with many of the things that the homeless people did. I drank, and I drank to excess, yes, but I didn't take drugs, and I didn't do other things. Like, for instance, one night, I'm sitting in the Strand with a group of us, we're chatting, and we are actually having a masterclass. One of the guys had given us a masterclass on how to insulate yourself with newspaper. So he's showing us how he's got 2 pairs of trousers on, and he's got 1 pair of trousers, and he's wrapping this newspaper around him, and then he's pulling up the trousers, and he's getting the newspaper inside of his clothes and everything, and it pads him up, and it insulates him when he sleeps on the street. Now, I saw that. I never did it. They told me how to get the big boxes, where to get the big boxes from. I never did that. I didn't see myself as homeless. And I'm going to say it again, it wasn't pride and it wasn't ego. I just didn't see that. So I didn't do that. And that was something that really helped me. The other thing I didn't do was blame people, because I could look at my circumstances, and yes, there were people that were contributors to where I was. But I realized something, that when you blame other people for where you are, you take away all of your power to do anything about it. So I found myself, instead of asking myself, why me? I constantly found myself asking, what now? What next? What shall I do next? Success in life, it's not delivered to you. It's built brick by brick. And sometimes it's painful bricks. But you build that brick by brick. It's not going to be delivered to you. The vision I saw of myself governed all of my actions. And as I said, I didn't see the street life for me. And we've all got this internal magnet inside of us, and it's constantly pulling us towards the picture that we hold of ourselves. So whatever you see in your mind's eye, you are going to be pulled towards that. That's just an internal pull that we've got. And because I didn't see myself as a street person, that internal magnet I had inside of myself was never pulling me in that direction. I was always seeing this as something temporary. It was a situation that I was going through, but it was temporary. So my antenna was always up, and I was always looking for an opportunity, and the opportunity did come. Back in the day, you were able to buy council flats, and there was a council flat going. Let me just rewind there. I said back in the day, you're able to buy council flats. It's never been legal to buy the keys to a council flat, but back in the day, it was very easy to do it. And there was one going for 400 quid. And I had my eye on that. So out of desperation, I've gone down to the DHSS, and I have just lost my stuff in there. I've gone in there yelling. And luckily for me, they didn't call the police. What they did instead was a gentleman took me to one side, and he had a look at my claim. And this is what he said to me. He said, Mr. Charles, he said, I understand what you said. Your unemployment benefit was being suspended, but you're getting supplementary benefit. I blew up again. I stopped getting anything. Anyway, he calmed me down, and he said, no, you're supposed to be getting supplementary benefit. Didn't they tell you that? I said, no, they just told me that it was suspended. They let me walk out. 10 months, man. 10 months. He said, look, I'm going to get you this sorted out for you, and we're going to backdate it. Back in the day, I think we're getting about £28 a week. So you get these, we call them gyro checks. We get these gyro checks for £56. £28. Nearly 10 months. I pick up a check. I come back in 2 days' time because I got no house, so I had to come and pick it up. I pick up a check for £900+, and I head straight to the post office in Stoke Newington, N16, corner of Brook Road. Anybody knows it? I'm in that post office, and it's about 5:10, and I walk up to the counter, and I give the woman this gyro, and she looks at it, and she looks at me. She looks at it. She looks at me, and she immediately just gets up and walks away. And I'm standing there and a gentleman comes out and he's got the jar in his hand and he looks at me, looks at it and he says, "Where did you get this from?" And I bit my tongue. I swear I bit my tongue because the first thing that came to my mind is like, your mum gave it to me. And I thought, that's not the thing to say, but it annoyed me. What do you mean, where did I get it from? I said, I got it from the DHSS. Then he said to me, why is it so much? I said, you need to ask them. So no, look, I had the answer, but I was young, I was silly. I could have just answered the questions and gone about my business. 5:10, I walked in there. Post office closes at 5:30. I leave the post office at 5:50. 900 plus in my pocket. And I go immediately and I pay for those keys. And I go from homeless and hopeless to hopeful. Now, I tell you something, when I look at my family, when I look at my life, when I look at my business and the things that I'm doing, I can't help but sometimes wondering, what would my life have been like if I had a different picture, if I held a different picture of myself back then when I had those decisions to make? Look, if you like this kind of video where I share my experiences through my life and how it determines the decisions I make on a day-to-day basis, and if you feel that it's helpful to you, then do me a favor. Please like, please share with somebody who you think that it will help, and do me the biggest honor and subscribe, because I'd love you to come on this journey with me. I want to just end by sharing some of the mindset habits that I used back then. Some of them I didn't know I was using, and what I'm using up until this day. One of the things that I did back then, even down to today, is no matter how bad things are, I wake up every morning with gratitude. I thank my Creator for giving me another opportunity. Every day, I am grateful for being here, no matter how bad it gets. The other thing that I do, and I wasn't doing it back then, but I do it now, is I'm constantly paying attention to the picture I hold of myself, especially when stuff happens. I'm constantly taking time out and just sitting down and just thinking over that picture. What picture do I hold in my mind? Because that picture is going to determine the thoughts, the actions, and the results that I'm going to get. So you've got to do that as well. And I've never given way to my circumstances. You mustn't do that either. Those circumstances that you find yourself in, they are temporary if you know what to do. Don't blame other people, because if you blame other people, even if other people contributed to where you are, don't blame them, because you take away your power to fix things. And the other thing that you mustn't do is you mustn't compare your journey to somebody else's journey. I never did that, and I don't do that now. I'm on YouTube. I've been on YouTube for, I don't know, 7-8 months now. I'd love my channel to be much bigger. I've just passed 250, and I'd like it to be bigger. When I bring more better content, when I keep on and I stay in the game and I remain consistent and I do what I have to do, I'll have 300, I'll have 400, I'll have 500, I'll have 1,000, I'll be monetized. But I don't compare my journey to somebody else's journey. Don't do that. When you compare yourself to other people, the only time you should look at other people is if you want to emulate them. If you look at them and you think, yeah, I'm going to go for that. I'm going to do what it takes to get to where you are and get my version of what you've got. But don't compare yourself to others, because you're always going to compare your weaknesses to their strengths. And that's always an uneven deal. Let me tell you something. You are stronger than you think. You're stronger than you know. I'm not here to trivialize the problems or the challenges that you're going through right now, but I'm going to tell you, you are stronger than you think. Think about this. When you share your challenges with people and they share their challenges with you, do you find yourself thinking, whoa, mine's bad, but I don't want to be dealing with that? Isn't it funny that what somebody else is going through, we don't want any part of it, and what we're going through, they don't want any part of ours? It's like when I was passing that box around and people were picking out the pieces of paper and reading other people's problems, and they didn't want them. They wanted their own ones back. There's a reason why you have the challenges that you have, and I'm not here to trivialize them at all. But I'm going to close by talking about stuff and dealing with stuff. You begin to deal with that stuff and you begin to make the dreams, goals, and aspirations of the business that you want work by concentrating on what you are focusing on, or the picture you see for yourself. And if the picture you see for yourself isn't a good one, you've got to change it. And if you want to know how to change it, stick around to this channel and I will teach you how to do that. I want to leave you with these thoughts that you're not behind. You might feel like you're behind when you look around. You're not behind, you're just being prepared. So don't stop building. Whether it's a YouTube channel, whether it's a business that you're building, you're not behind, you're just being prepared. Don't stop. Keep on building. I'm out of here for another week. I'd love you to leave a comment telling me about a challenge that you faced or one that you're facing and what help you need or how you're getting over it. Because I'd love to build a community of encouragement right here on YouTube. In the meantime, what I'm going to ask you to do is to keep on being amazing, because you are. And I'll speak to you soon. Feeling good? Want more results like this? Let's keep that momentum going with this video here. Also, click on my head here to subscribe.